What's going on, guys? In this video we're gonna do a capture the flag exercise, my first one of this type, and we'll be doing an easy box. We're gonna take a look at the legacy box here. Let's go ahead and start it up. Now, we will not be using the Metasploit framework. Basically, the idea for this is that we're gonna use exploits if we have to compile, if we have to modify it, change the shellcode or whatever it is. We're gonna go through it in a way that we can absorb the most possible from this box, which after all is the purpose of this website, is for you to learn and not to just play it like a video game where you just capture the flags and don't really learn much about the exploits. And hopefully by watching this video you'll be able to absorb some of that knowledge, which you could then apply to a different exploit. So yeah, let's begin. I'm also going to show you how to configure the basic Hackthebox stuff. So let's start off with the VPN. This is very easy. All you gotta do is download your VPN connection. So there's all the instructions here, but hopefully watching you'll be able to learn it easier. Let's save that. And just the basic setup for everything. Alright, so we've downloaded that. Now let's CD into downloads. And let's move the VPN pack to the previous directory and we'll CD into it as well. So here we're going to create a HTTP directory and we can move the profile into there. That way we want to kind of keep everything organized. So let's go into that directory and there we go. So here we can do a directory called legacy, since that's going to be this specific box. And let's go ahead and connect to the VPN using OpenVPN. Alright, there we go. And let's take a look. So here's the box. I've went ahead and fired it up, so it should be running. We can ping the machine to make sure everything is up and running. And there we go. Now let's CD into our directory here. And let's start like usual. We're gonna do an Nmap Scan. We're gonna check the services, try to find out the operating system as well. And we do want to run a vulnerability script to see if there's any easy vulnerabilities on it. So let's put the IP here. And with these boxes I usually recommend saving the output. So let's do legacy vuln.txt and let's start with that. Like I said, we're gonna do this without using the framework. Hopefully we can get a shell straight from the exploit and basically try to learn this so that we're dealing with the dependencies, the requirements, modifying the code if we have to. Basically learn as much as possible. That's the mission for this. Alright, while the Nmap scan's finishing here, I'm gonna go ahead and open a few more tabs because we always need more tabs. I think 4 should be good enough for now. Now let's give this a second. Alright, there we go. The scan's completed. We should have it saved in a file as well. So let's take a look at the results here. You can see a few open ports. OS guess, we got XP 2003 up to 2008. And yeah, so looking at the vulnerabilities, we can see some classic old school vulnerabilities here. MS-0867 and MS-17010. So very expected for an introduction box. So let's try to go with the easier exploit, which is probably this one here. Since we don't want to use the framework, which would make things just too easy and take all the fun out of it, what we're gonna do is let's head over to Google and we're gonna write the name of the CVE and exploit. Alright, so we have here the Rapid 7, which is probably going to be talking about the MSF exploit. and we have this GitHub here, which seems to be the Python script to exploit this vulnerability. So let's go with this. Since Python's an easier language for me, I'm pretty familiar with it. This should be a good route to getting a shell in this box. So I guess we'll proceed by cloning this exploit. Now before that, what we're gonna do is we are going to create a exploit directory, and let's cd into it. Yeah, that way we have these exploits ready and we're able to modify it, and we'll just learn a lot more than using the default stuff from Metasploit framework. So let's go ahead and clone this exploit. There we go. We'll cd into that directory. Let's take a look at the readme file. Alright, you can see there's also a lot of information here. Installation on Kali. So you need Kali's in-packet version. Cool. So I guess we can go ahead and clone that since we'll need it anyway. But before we do that, let's keep reading a little bit. Yeah, you can see he gives a lot of detailed instructions here for the shellcode as well. And there's also different versions for the exploit. So I'm guessing that has to do with the buffer used. Alright, so let's clone in packet. Alright, sweet. We'll cd into the in packet directory. Okay, and then pip install. Alright, cool. So let's see the files here. Okay, so let's do pip install current directory. Command not found, of course. Okay, so I guess we have to go ahead and download pip. So let's do get pip. Alright. Okay, so we can just download the get pip file and go ahead and run that to install pip, which I'm not sure why it's not here. It probably has to do with the version. I remember Kali, they were trying to get rid of the Python 2 dependencies. So let's run that. Okay, so this does not work with Python 2.7. Alright, so I guess we downloaded the wrong one. So let's save this. Okay, we can change the name for this. Let's do gpip.py, whatever, and we'll do python gpip. Alright, cool. That seems to have worked. Now let's go back here to InPacket and let's try to run the requirement so we can install the dependencies for it. It still doesn't work. That's fine. We could do python -m pip install current directory. That should work. Alright, we get another error. Pretty sure this has to do with the setup tools not being updated. I'm on a fresh Kali here. This might not be the case for you if you have already updated it, but let's go ahead and update the setup tools and hopefully that will get rid of the issues. So let's do install upgrade setup tools. Alright, now let's run the same command again. Looks like it's going through. Yeah, again we get a bunch of errors here. Now this is where the hacking begins, and this is some of the stuff that I want you to learn from this video. Is oftentimes we'll be using an exploit that requires a library that's long been abandoned or people are not using it anymore. I'm actually quite familiar with PyCrypto, and I thought Kali included PyCrypto already, but obviously it isn't working here. I do know that there's a new version of PyCrypto called PyCrypto Dome, So what are we gonna do? PyCrypto Dome works exactly like PyCrypto. It's basically a out of the box replacement for it. So what we could do is we can just go ahead and let's VIM the requirements here. There we go. You can see it requires PyCrypto equal or greater than 2.6.1. So I'm gonna press I to modify here and just add Dome to this. Alright, so we're gonna replace PyCrypto with PyCrypto Dome. Since all the includes and all the stuff for the code is the same, this should work. But we might also need to modify the setup file as well. So let's take a look here. Yeah, there we go. Install requires PyCrypto Dome. Okay. So let's try to run this back and hopefully this will go smooth this time. Yeah, there we go. Everything installed successfully. Now, let's take a look at the exploit code. Alright, so let's open up the exploit.py file. I'm gonna make the text a little bigger here. And yeah, there we can see the dependencies, PyCrypto and packet. And we can see the other libraries it's using struct, time, sys. And just by the print statements here, you can see that it's using Python 2, which, you know, makes sense. It's from 2008, another exploit. So let's keep taking a look to see if there's anything noticeable here. It's very interesting. He already gives you a lot of the code for the shell code. So we can use MSF Venom to generate the shell code, which we can then capture using, if you want to use Metasploit, you could use that, or if you just want to use Netcat, that's probably a more roots way of doing it. So yeah, let's do Netcat just for good measure. And I guess this is where we'll paste the shell code. So yeah, let's generate the shell code. So this is the code for it. You can see we have the platform. Here's Windows, architecture, x86, 32 bits. These are the bad bytes that we need to avoid, otherwise the exploit won't work. Ports 443, that should be good. And the IP address, so we gotta figure out our IP address here on the VPN. So let's do a sudo ifconfig, and that's the IP address .14.26. So yeah, let's change that to .14.26, 10.10.14.26, and we can, yeah, that should be good. Let's generate the shellcode. So this is basically the payload, and you can see we're using a reverse TCP shell here. So we're gonna have to paste this shellcode into the exploit file. So we'll copy that, and now let's open the exploit. So exploit folder MS08, we'll open it with mousepad here, and let's take a look. Okay, so there's the shellcode. We'll paste our unique shellcode here, and let's save that. Alright, cool. Let's go back to the terminal. And now, let's take a look at the scan one more time. So you can see we have this vulnerability here, which is tied to port 445. That's why we need Unpacket, by the way, to interact with the SMB service. But remember that the exploit here mentions all the way at the bottom the different versions, right? So there's a Service Pack 0, Service Pack 1, French, there's a bunch of different types. So let's take a look at the scan and see which operating system the scan is guessing for us. So you can see it gives us a range of systems here. And then if we look at the aggressive guesses, Microsoft XP Service Pack 2, Service Windows Server 2003, Service pack 2, 92%. So at no point they mentioned the possibility of a service pack 0 or 1. So I guess we can assume that it's going to be either a service pack 2 or a service pack 3. And you can see we have the option right here. Oh, never mind, this is French. So let's try this one, service pack 3 English. Alright, so yeah, make sure we save that. And let's go ahead and try to run the exploit. So where am I here? In packet folder, so let's go back. Alright, so we're gonna do, well, first of all, we need to do a netcat. So let's do netcat, and we'll do listen, verbose, and port 443. Alright. Now I guess we're ready to run the exploit, so we'll do Python. And remember, if you press tab here, you can see it gives you a bunch of different Python versions because a lot of the tools use the different versions. But we're still running Python 2, which should be the standard Python, so you could just run it like that. And we'll put the exploit file here. And then if we take a look one more time, so IP address followed by the specific version of Windows and the port. Okay, so let's do IP address 10.10.10.4, version 6, and the port 445. And yeah, we already have netcat listening here, so let's go ahead and run this. Initiating, connected, exploit finish. Let's check our netcat, and there we go, we got the shell. So yeah, you can see we're already in the system32 folder, which is actually a pretty good indicator that we are running as a super user, basically a system here. And we can actually confirm that by doing a echo here. You could just write any text, and we'll do a random file. And if we do a directory command again, there we go, that's our file right there. We can even read it out, and there's the text we wrote. So we are already super user here. From this point on, I guess we can just go ahead and capture the flags, right? So if you cd into documents and settings, and then we could do cd John, cd desktop, and we could do more. So that's the flag right there. And let's say we were to go to administrator and desktop, more root, and those are the two flags right there. So yeah, that was pretty cool. We're able to get the netcat, and let's say we wanted to run a different payload, we would just be able to generate the shellcode for that. And it's a more interesting way. You can see we had to deal with some of the dependencies and requirements that Kali was just not ready to handle. And hey, I had a good time. And if you guys want to see a part 2 of this box exploiting the other vulnerability, we could do that. But I'll probably just move on into a more difficult box. This was mostly an introduction. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you for the next Capture the Flag exercise.